Okay, I know everybody's anxious. Y'all been waiting all week for this because policy just excites everybody so much that we want to sit and listen to it. However, this policy is pretty important because this is the only thing that keeps us out of big trouble. Anyway, you know me by now, kind of, Chuck Stanley, Rangeland Specialist out of the Central Technology Center there in Fort Worth. And just a little bit of background, I've been doing prescribed burning since like 1988. In fact, when I first went out with Dr. Henry Wright at Texas Tech, I liked it so much I completely changed. This was just an elective class. I changed my whole degree plan and ended up getting a master's degree doing prescribed burning, which was kind of entertaining given the fact that, God, they actually have a master's degree program on that. So the good thing about it is we're out there burning all the time, and shoot, that's all I ever wanted to do. And now, doing policy, not actually burning, but I get paid to do it, so it's even better. Yeah, exactly. So, whoops. Quiz time. So I know everybody went to bed early last night and everything, and apparently there was a lot of burning questions on the exam. So we're going to have a little quiz just to get you, you know, woken up. Woken, is that a word? Woken? So, first question. I know Angela and Aaron and Kendra, they think they know what the question is. So, you're a participant in a race. You overtake the second person. What position are you in? You got to do this quick. Think about it. There you go. If you overtake the second place, you're in his place. We're going to have some more of these after a while. So, policy. And this, I've changed this up. Many of you have been to the NEDS courses or other, and I talk about this because that's part of the requirement for you to get your job approval authorities. But the NRCS supports and encourages prescribed burning everywhere, all lands that will meet a specific resource objective, right? Whoops. How do you go back? I love seeing cedars go up. I mean, that just put a smile on your face any day. So, over the last 6 years, and this I got this data out of the PRS or whatever it's called now, we've done quite a bit of burning. I guess, let's see, in 2011, we had over 2 million acres planned, but didn't get anywhere near that, which is understandable considering the biggest part of the states that burn were going into a big drought, and we just couldn't do it. But if you notice too over here, contracts, why are those so much lower? And why did they really dropped off here? And I was talking with Brandon the other night, and I think a lot of that is due to the fact that prescribed burning and doing a contract, there's way too many modifications to try to deal with to be putting them in contracts. So it gets pretty tough. So we're doing a lot of burning. This has been going on for generations, ages. And here's a really good book by Omer Stewart called Forgotten Fires. And I think you ecological site specialists would enjoy reading this as well because there's a ton of historical information in there about every part of the country. It's an incredible book. Kind of hard to read a little bit, but it's really good. And Omer Stewart was way ahead of his time. He did all this research, and I forget the exact years, but his colleagues and peers wouldn't let him publish it because they basically ostracized him, said that he was full of crap, and wouldn't believe that the Indians had that much effect on the landscape, that they were the ones actually going out there and burning. Anyway, Cat Anderson and Henry Lewis found all of his papers and everything, and finally got this thing out in 2000, I believe, is when it was. So it's a good reading. This is something John Weir gave me the other day, which is really interesting. We've seen these fire frequency and return interval maps for quite a while, and Guyette did this, and he did this model based on, let me say one thing, it's a model. All models are wrong. Some are useful, but they're all wrong. Anyway, he took this and did it predicting fire frequency with chemistry and climate. And what he did was using temperature, the vegetation classes, and the precipitation areas. And what is interesting to me, he did take out all the population variable. So, if there was nobody here, this is what would happen. And all my career, I've been thinking that was 7 to 10 year fire interval. Well, it turns out that it's 2 to 4 or sometimes less than 2, which makes sense over here in Florida because it burns a lot. But anyways, somewhere in here it goes. But look over here in California. There's a lot more fire occurring here too than certainly what was predicted. Now, if this has any validity, which I think it does have some, we're not getting enough fire on the ground at all. So, this is something I was talking with George Peacock and Curtis the other day. Boxes and lines. A lot of these arrows and lines, the community pathway, restoration pathway, what is it? Fire's the driver. And Curtis and George thought that it was anywhere from 80 to 90% of all ecological sites. That is the main thing, which is a pretty high number when you think about it. So, boxes and lines. That's, we got to get out of the box. So, really, all it takes is a box of matches. And we can fix it, right? I stole this from John Weir too, but not the slide. I put the little fellow in there. So, anyway, my basic premise here is that we need to be helping these landowners understand the importance of fire and helping them actually implement these burns. Y'all are thinking, shoot, he hadn't said anything that was on the test, right? So I may get to some of it, we'll see. So, the NRCS encourages its employees to participate in prescribed burning activities. This is national. NRCS national leadership encourages its employees to participate in prescribed burning, okay? But only the trained and qualified personnel are able to go out there and provide assistance in planning, designing, or implementing and participating on these prescribed burns. So, how much can you participate? The state office is responsible for providing you the training necessary, and to what levels of technical assistance you can provide those landowners is going to be based on your job approval authority. And these were set up for a reason, and I'm going to get into that in a little bit. Or whatever certification level you've attained. Okay, questions? It was good, wasn't it? Did I cover everything that was on the test? Not much. Actually, this is questions that came up. Why don't we participate more? And a big one here is not allowed. The state office does have the prerogative to, they can't lessen the national policy, but they do have that prerogative, say we're not going to have our employees out there. Personally, I think that's the wrong way to look at it, but that's Chuck. I'm not a state con, so. State and local laws may have some effect with that. You got your DNR or State Department of Forestry or something like that, that actually takes over on the prescribed burning thing. But with that being said, I think they're getting overwhelmed now as well because there is so much more information out, and the landowners are starting to understand that fire is a good process for their tool, for their land. This one I don't believe in much. Not a historic fire state. I just showed you that map a while ago. Every state is a historic fire state. What I'm saying here is there may not be in recent years such a historic fire state because, well, mainly because everybody perceives that fire is dangerous. Fire itself is not dangerous. It's a process. And I really don't like the fact that people say that it's a conservation, one of our conservation practices. Everybody says it's a tool. It's a process. It's an ecological process that is natural on the landscape. So I get a little bit convoluted sometimes. And I probably go back and forth here, but that's just the way my brain works. Liability. Ooh, this is the good one. I'm pretty sure that the state, your supervisor, and everybody else thinks that if you're out there, we're going to get sued, which is true. Any attorney is going to look for the deep pockets first, and the government's going to have those deep pockets in their what they perceive deep pockets. I think this is a little bit more along the lines anymore of what's going on is we've got so many programs and contracting. Your supervisors, state conservationists don't think you need to be spending out time in the field participating on prescribed burns, working with those landowners, because you need to be getting those dollars out and taking care of those contractual obligations. Understandable to some extent. See how I go back and forth? Media coverage of the wildfires. They never see a good prescribed burn going. I mean, very seldom. But you always see the big wildfires taking off. They cover that like crazy. And you saw that cedar on fire a while ago, and you think, oh my gosh, this is taking off. And yeah, I took the picture at the point when it was going up as much as it didn't even burn all of that tree. It's just a slow process. It's entertaining. We did a training not too long ago. A girl from Pennsylvania was there, and she wouldn't carry the drip torch. Anyway, we started lighting and everything, and the next day we went out and burned, and she told me that evening, she said, that wasn't anything like I thought it was. So this perception thing is completely different. She goes, that was great. Next day we get out there, and she goes, I want the torch. I mean, she was into it. So that's good. And that's what the training's all about, is getting you comfortable with being on those burns. Perception that fire is dangerous. This is what cutting and pasting does, and then thinking about something else while you're doing this. I was probably going to put something else in there, but I don't remember what it was. So let's get into this liability thing a little bit. This is a big issue. As you know, our prescribed burn plans, I mean, ultimately, the landowner, land manager, is the one that's going to be liable for anything that happens. Okay? So, a lot of you have seen some of these before. Can an NRCS employee do this? You bet. You bet. There's quite a few of us that prefer the leaning stick over a lot of the other duties. So, can we do this? You bet. What does it say in policy? At training, you can do it. Why can't we be out there assisting that landowner and be carrying that drip torch? I think it's the perception again that is what is more liable than the leaning sticks, or more dangerous to that aspect. And like I said earlier, fire itself is not dangerous. Okay? We'll do a quiz. How many of you drive a vehicle? Good. How many of you have ever had a wreck? Yeah? Okay. How many of you drove here or drove to the airport? Okay. Did you have a wreck? I hope not. Okay. If that's the case, you're going to obviously drive back to your house, right? How many of you in this room can guarantee me that you're not going to have a wreck when you go back? Not a single one of you. Same way with fire. Whoops. I mean, stuff happens. I'm going to keep my language good. You know, and there's no way we can predict completely that something's not going to happen. And a lot of the times, you know, we've been out there burning, and it's the humidity or something else is just way different than what you expected when you started, and you know, you have something go wrong. Same way with driving a car. But if we can't do this, why in the heck should we be driving? I mean, driving's a heck of a lot more dangerous, especially anymore. Golly. And a little rain out here, I'd be kind of entertaining out there on the freeways, wouldn't it? So I'm going to do the job approval authority a little bit. Many of you have seen this too, and this is the national. See? Some of the states have changed these approval authorities to some extent. Due to some recent events and things, we've been asked, myself and Sid and Greg Johnson, would put together an executive summary to send up to leadership on what NRCS's role should be. And the job approval authority is one of the recommendations that we're putting in there that needs to be followed on a national scale. And states not dropping down. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But that Class 1 job approval authority and this is at 16 hours, and this is where I want to get some discussion too. 16 hours, it's kind of an arbitrary number. The point is to get that, these different fire effects and things like that in the behavior, understanding some terminology and things like that. But that only gives you the ability to put that in a conservation plan. Somebody else is going to need to write the prescribed burn plan, right? Class 2 is a maintenance burn. You got to have Class 1, of course, which we'd hope. But look here. You've got to plan and design 3 Class 2 burns. And you got to have that training, which all the NEDS courses do, by the way. I encourage you to sign up. They're really good. That includes that. And then you got to participate on 3 burns. Not necessarily carry the drip torch, but at least be out there and participate. And the big thing behind that participation is not necessarily carrying a torch or leaning on the stick, but it's paying attention to fire behavior. That's the key to writing good burn plans. And I don't know how you can write a good burn plan unless you understand behavior. So, we'd hope you demonstrate good knowledge and judgment while you're out there. And here's just an example of Class 2. And here again, this number changes through the states just based on, you know, the typical size of areas you burn, okay? And the slope size. And a Class 3, we're just moving up a little bit. And then you got Class 4, picking on up, more volatile fuels, cedar, things like that. And then Class 5 and 6 in the national policy, there's no restrictions on any of these here. This job approval authority is what keeps us out of trouble. If you maintain and participate, plan, and everything, all of that within your job approval authority level, you're covered. The state con's covered. Your supervisor's covered. It's okay. Well, like I said, I was talking to Pat Shaver last night, longer than I should have. But a lot of these were put in there, they had to put a number in. And that's where they give the states the option to make those based on what their typical sizes are and what they feel is safe and to match up with that class of burn. Like Texas, just for instance, is 640 is not a good number because they're burning some large areas. I mean, that's Pepe here. I'm going to try to do what I was supposed to. She asked the question that they changed that, and this number here is set at 1,000. Well, what happens if you plan one or you burn one that's 1,001 acres? You kind of limit yourself in that respect. Okay, so yeah, or do you cut it in half and do 501 and 500? It's not very practical in some cases. So that's where you have the option to change it. I hate setting these numbers in stone, but the way Pat explained it to me is they had to set some number in there because otherwise OGC, Office of General Counsel, and stuff like that wasn't going to take it. But the states do have the opportunity to make those changes. Well, it is in policy, and we set it at 5 years. I forget, Brandon, it's Oklahoma. Oh, I'm sorry. She asked the question about getting recertified that if you don't do a lot of burning. Hey, Dennis, I haven't seen you. It is. And that recertification needs to be done. National set it at 5 years, and Oklahoma is 3, isn't it? So your liability, as long as you're acting in accordance with all the federal, state, and local laws, and within the scope of your work, and this is important right here, within the scope of your work, you accept no greater or less liability than associated with you doing anything else of your job. Okay? Driving the vehicle. That's what it means. So with this executive summary that we're putting together, we asked a set of specific questions to OGC, and we got reply. And I want to make something pretty clear here. Sid, I hope I don't get a lot of phone calls. I'm hoping these go to you. But the main premise behind this is OGC can't form an opinion because there's never been a case to set precedents on with regards to prescribed burning. So this is what they told us when the questions were asked. So all federal employees, including state conservationists, are immune from legal actions brought under the theory of negligence as long as the federal employee at the time of the incident were acting within the scope of their employment. Okay, so that job approval authority is pretty darn important now, isn't it? Whoops. This applies to both supervisors and employees participating in the prescribed burn process. As long as the employees are carrying out their official duties, regardless of whether the employees were negligent in carrying out their duties. They're starting to get to it, isn't it, Jason? I'm adding fuel to the fire here. That's what this little guy's doing. The U.S. government as a whole is liable for negligent acts or omissions of federal employees committed within the employee's scope of employment. Even if employees who are acting within the scope of their employment, you're negligent, the U.S. government may still be immune from liability through this doctrine of discretionary function, which I need to look up and read. I haven't done it yet, but I know it's some type of legal term that's, anyway, sounds really cool. So, basically, we're going to be immune. The U.S. government's going to take it over. So, this defense is available if the employees did not violate any mandatory statutes, regulations, or policies, okay, national policy again, in carrying out their duties, regardless of whether their conduct was ultimately negligent. It's pretty interesting, if you ask me. So, I mean, this for a long time when I first started in NRCS, we're doing burning. Oh, policy this, you know. It means a lot now to me because we need to keep burning. Remember the map? We got to burn more, the ESDs. So typically when an employee is sued for negligence in his or her capacity, individual capacity, as long as the employee was acting within the scope of your employment, the employee will be dismissed from the suit and the U.S. government will be substituted in their place. This is good, but that doesn't mean your supervisor or state con isn't going to let you hit the highway, okay? So here again, that job approval authority. They got to have trust in you to be following the policy while you're out there working with the landowner. And that's, you know, it. And like I said, there's never been a case to set precedents on within the NRCS. So, you as employees will only be held liable in their individual capacities if they're acting outside of the scope of their employment at the time of the incident. And this gets back to the part about, well, can I go burn my own place? Well, sure you can. That's just like you can go build a fence on your place. But taking annual leave and going to help a producer or something like that, it's not going to work because the perception and the fact that you're an NRCS employee and the people in your area know that you are, it's going to come back. And if you go out there, whoops, darn thing, and do that on annual leave, you're outside the scope of your employment. Okay? So, you could be on your own. The other thing I think that goes on, and those of you that do prescribed burning, it's fun. I mean, you just first time I carried the torch, I was hooked. I got a master's degree in it. So, and I think that bugs supervisors and on up a little bit because not that they don't want you to have fun and enjoy your job, but the fact that you're spending so much time on one project. And it's not like you're doing it every day because if you set your burn time from January through May, there's only a limited number of days that are actually going to meet prescription requirements. So it's not that many days when you get down to it. The question was, why are we out there helping and bringing a crew of NRCS perhaps when they have a contract on that land? That's a very good point. It's almost like double dipping. Texas this last year, if there is a contract for prescribed burning on a place, then NRCS is not going to provide that assistance. Cowboy logic, this from Kit Fayrow. The difference between genius and stupidity is that genius has its limits. Can you read this in the back? This is Ace Reed, cowpokes. If them old boys would overgraze their place like us, they wouldn't have to be fighting them fires all the time. We've all seen it. In fact, we use that as a fire break. Oh, and by the way, fire break. Fire guards, and John Ware convinced me of this, and I use him a lot because he's super good. Fire guards, we want a fire break. We're trying to break that fuel. And due to budget restraints and everything else, all the fire guards had to be laid off. Exactly. They just took a little longer for them to figure out. Oh, shoot, another question. All right, you got to think fast, answer the question fast, and hopefully I won't push the button too quick. You're still in the race. That's pretty good. If you overtake the last person, then you are? If you answered second to last, you're wrong. Tell me exactly how you overtake the last place. Critical thinking. I missed them all too when the first read. Okay, I'm kind of getting close to the end. We'd put on there a little bit about the standard specifications. The standard that we last updated was April of 2012. When we sent it out for reviews and everything, there were very few little changes. The one big change we put in there was the basic smoke management practices. And it sat there at headquarters, and Dennis Thompson finally told me, he said, there's not enough changes to go ahead and put this on the register. We'll just leave it like it is for now and go forward. I think, Sid, we probably need to do an update and think about it, which means I'll probably be calling several of you to help with any updates that we need to do. Other than that, I'm not going to get into it too much. The main reason I wanted to get here was so that I could explain to you a little bit about why we have job approval authority, the policy, the way it's set up, and what the Office of General Counsel has said back to us. And what I really hope is that none of you in here, or any of us NRCS employees across, go give them a case to set precedent on. Just ancillary things. I put together this SharePoint for everybody to go use. We got documents, PowerPoints, fire weather links, a lot of different things. You're welcome to download them, add to it, whatever. But notice this here. Prescribed fire is a safe way to apply a natural process, ensure ecosystem health, and reduce wildfire risk. Okay? We start thinking about climate change and everything else, how things are going, what we got these ultimate fuel loads. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, prescribed fire is a safe way. If you'll notice right there, I did that screenshot at 11:37 last night. So, oh yeah, I called Sid after that because my computer blew up. And also, USDA Connect. Travis Jones put this together, and it's a community on that Connect, and he has a lot of the same things on there, and just really loves to get discussions going about prescribed fire and what we can do. One thing about policy I want to tell you is don't disobey your job approval authority. If you don't like the way it is, work with me and Sid, your state specialist, whoever, to change it, okay? Because like I said, I don't want anybody going out there and giving them a case to set precedents on. And it's so now I got a real question, and that's for y'all. You might be a redneck if your idea of lawn maintenance is a can of gas and a lighter. So I kind of like that one. I can't burn in the city limits. So anyway, I'll be happy to take any questions now.